Hi, Tolga. Nice to see you writing essays for your IELTS preparation. Good work. It's nice to see you working so hard. So let's get straight into your essays and see what you wrote. Traditional schooling is out of date, boring, and stifles a child's natural talents. Various professionals have pushed for an education revolution. Are there alternatives in the education system? Is traditional education doing more harm than good? The issue of whether formal education is old-fashioned, not interesting for children, and neglects their natural-born abilities or not has been debatable over the few decades. Okay, very nice. However, let's put a comma here since you have a list. You have a list of three things. So old-fashioned, comma, not interesting for children, and etc. Now, here, you're missing a word. You need the word last here. Debatable over the last few decades to show that you're talking about the recent past. In that regard, fundamental changes in primary and secondary schooling have been asked by some experts. Okay, here I also feel like there's a tiny problem here. You can't ask changes, you ask for changes. So you need that preposition here as well, asked for. Or you could have changed the word asked and used something maybe even higher level like requested, have been demanded, have been suggested. These could be some good alternatives as well. In my opinion, domestic schooling is the promising option that should be taken into account, and mainstream education might be harmful for today's young people. Did I say domestic education? Domestic schooling. I'm not really convinced that that's the right term. We usually call this homeschooling. I'm not really familiar with being educated at home ever being called domestic schooling. So I would replace that with the word homeschooling. Okay, and now for your body. One of the main alternatives to traditional education is democratic schools. In that institutions, people have rights to determine hours and to some extent what to learn besides educators. All right, so here a couple little issues to discuss. I don't know what you mean here by democratic schools. Again, it's not a term that is widely recognized as something common, so I'm not really sure that it's a expression you want to use. Then, in those institutions, people have rights to determine hours, and to some extent without a. Now, look what happens here. You wrote to some extent what to learn besides educators. Now, the way you phrase this, it's as if they are learning educators. So I don't think that's what you meant. I think what you meant, and they have a right to some extent what to learn in terms of their lessons, not besides educators. So you need to rephrase this a little bit so that the message isn't muddled. Okay, this means that children take their own responsibility for learning and have democratic rights in the decision-making process. Perfect. This is not the case at formal schools where teachers, governors, principals, okay, you're missing an and here, and principals are the only ones who have the right to decide. For example, a recent study from Berlin University indicated that when children were invited, okay, you needed a helping verb here, to take part in the decision-making process at schools, they tend to feel more responsible towards their education. Okay, lovely. So let's wrap it up then with a summary sentence. So, so in conclusion, and then just link it back to your first sentence again. Okay, there are quite strong evidences that current education system is not harmonious to the era where technology drastically influences and changes almost every aspect of human life. All right, it's a nice sentence, but there are some little problems that keep it from being perfect. So first of all, evidence is uncountable. So you need to say there is quite strong evidence. And then that the current education system is not harmonious to the era where technology, you might want to say the modern era, and then you can describe it more in detail. So where technology drastically influences and changes almost every aspect of human life. So those 2 or 3 little changes really make all the difference. Information is easily accessible and changes frequently, and this causes abilities that economies need changes year by year. Okay. causes abilities that economies, all right, this is a little unclear to me. There's something happening in this sentence that make it difficult to read. This is a paradigm change, and every member of society should be ready to take their own responsibility for constant learning and change. Even if current schools' curricula, plural, I guess it's not just one curriculum, are updated frequently, since youngsters do not being encouraged, here you want are not encouraged to be more responsible, this could lead them to be in a difficult situation in 10 to 20 years. Okay, so clearly you're trying to answer this question, is traditional education doing more harm than good? And you kind of talk about it, but rather indirectly. So there's all this talk about taking responsibility for your education, but you haven't really answered the question, is it doing more harm than good? You're just really focusing on technology and that we need to be responsible for our learning. So I really wanted you to address this more clearly. Okay? Alrighty. So in conclusion, although children should not be left alone in their whole learning process, more responsibility should be devoted to them in order to improve their personality. Okay. Again, I don't really believe that this conclusion ties into this, okay, ties into the two questions that were asked here. And also, you spoke about the fact that students do need to be involved in the decision making. So I would have liked something here like, although children should not be left alone in their entire learning process, they should be given some ability, some opportunity to make choices. And traditional education will not prepare students for the future. So something like that basically addresses these two issues here. Okay, let's go on to your letter. Okay, it's the formal letter of complaint. Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing to complain about the dinner I had in Terry's place on 21st, this should be an ST, of June 2017. First of all, I would like to highlight that me and my wife preferred your restaurant as our close friends had advised. Okay, this should be my wife and I. I had made a reservation last Thursday without on for the Friday, for that Friday, or for the following Friday. And since it was our wedding anniversary, I had been trying to make a proper choice. Okay, fine. However, our problems started at the beginning. You didn't even need to use past perfect here. Supervisor waitress told us that a reservation canceled by mistake and apologized for this reason. Okay, here's some changes I would like to see. The head waitress told us that our reservation was canceled by mistake and apologized for this situation. It's not a reason, it's a situation. Okay, so that's a wrong word choice here. Due to this, he told that they give our table to other guests, and following this, they arrange us a table near the door. Okay, again, some grammar problems. Let's take a look at them. So first of all, waitress is female, but here you're referring to a male here, so perhaps it should be she. So due to this, she told us, you need an object here, us, that they gave our table, past tense, to other guests, and following this, they arranged a table near the door for us. Okay, so some syntax changes that we need to make here, and then it's fine. To conclude, we sat, not because we want to, just due to instant shock we experienced, and since I had pre-ordered everything considering our anniversary, waitress had begun serving. Okay, a little awkward. I really like all of the details that you're providing. You're giving lots. You're clearly answering the bullets, and that's very nice. But some of the grammar here needs a little work. So let's look at that. To conclude, we sat not because we wanted to. You need past tense here, but just due to instant shock. Okay, and then you could stop the sentence here. And then, since I had pre-ordered everything, considering our anniversary, the waitress began serving. However, my wife would like to leave due to the cold coming through the door, and I would like to cancel our orders. Now, I want you to be careful here. It should be... Okay, now here there's a problem with would like. Would like is as if now, I would like to speak with you. I would like to see this. I would like to do this. So it has a present or future meaning. But here you're clearly talking about the past, so this is not appropriate. My wife wanted to leave due to the cold coming through the door, and I wanted to cancel our orders. Unfortunately, the attendant told me that it is not possible, and we paid and left before our meals came. Taking into account those reasons, I therefore suggest that I be given a full refund. This is great. It's a nice grammatical structure. It's advanced, very good. However, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on the details, and I didn't really see a lot of formal language. So here you've got some, I would like, but then there's a lot of details just about what went wrong in the meal, and I wanted maybe a little bit more about this, okay? It's not enough just to say what you want in one sentence and be done with it. I would like a little more development of that, all right? Then I am waiting, I am awaiting, or I am waiting for your prompt response. And then, now check out how you started your letter. It starts, Dear Sir or Madam. And when we start our letter, Dear Sir or Madam, we have to sign off with yours faithfully. The examiners will absolutely be looking for this. So it's not appropriate to write regards. It needs to be yours faithfully, okay? So, Tolga, there are a few things that I'd like you to change with these essays, but good work. You're getting there. So let's see these corrected in the next day or so, and new essays from you. And good luck. I'll be waiting for your next essays.